East 1. The Dora is the one of cracks. The player is south.
I'd love to see some tile drawing magic here.
Let's see how this battle unfolds. The player, one step in the right direction.
This hand is really beginning to come together.
The player on the left makes a call out of nowhere. Who will come? My, oh my, and there's the beach!
There are any number of responses here.
Question is, can the player survive this situation?
The player on the right just pushed that tile through. This can't complete an open weight across the table.
The player on the left, here we have a cheat. The player, one tile to Tempai.
This hand is very near completion.
Chasing beach.
That is a very confident reach.
Ah, gee! The player on the left, a very swift win off the wall.
That was a very quiet start.
The East 1, one counter. The Dora is the 3 of cracks. The player is south. The player on the left is in first.
At the moment, this is anyone's game.
This is not an easy spot to work around. The player on the right drops a pair. The player, first place is well within striking range. Who's going to make the first call here? The player, 2 tiles to Tempai.
The next few tiles could make a huge difference.
Draws yet another simple. Oh, wow, and there's a call. The player on the right continues to discard simples. Any calls on? Took a pass for now. The player, one tile to Tempai.
The players decided to keep this Dora to the bitter end. Decided that bands aren't worth chasing.
How are the players going to approach this hand? No one dares to make the first move. My, oh my! The player on the left. Here we have a cheat.
That kills the Ipatsu.
What to do with this still holding back?
This can't complete an open weight across
the player. Still no calls. Ah, gee! The player on the left. A very swift win off the wall. East 1, 2 counters. The Dora is the 4 of dots. The player is south.
Let's see where this hand ends up going.
The stage is set. Anything can happen. What's going to happen to this score gap? The player. Is there any way to turn the tables here? This table is so quiet I could hear a pin drop. Any calls on this tile? Oh, wow, and there's a call. What to do with this tile? The player, Tempai. The air is very tense at this moment. Have things calmed down for the moment? Uh-oh, East has declared Beach.
Gotta be cautious against an East Beach. This can't complete an open way on the left. The player across the table just pushed that tile through.
The player can't quite get the job done on this hand. Oh my! There it is! I hear a roan!
That took care of that East Beach.
East 2. The Dora is the 2 of cracks. The player is East. The player finished the last hand quick and dirty. Now, let's watch how things develop. The player, one step in the right direction.
This hand is really beginning to come together.
Cone. The player on the left makes a call out of no cone. Any calls on took a pass for now. Cone. The player on the left made a call there. The player on the left continues to discard simples. The player, 2 tiles to Tempai.
The next few tiles could make a huge difference.
Draws yet another simple. The player on the left follows suit here. The player is already 1 tile to Tempai.
Certain tiles will fit right into this hand. Others will gradually transform it.
What to do with still holding back? The player, first place is well within striking range. How are the player is still no calls. No one dares to make the first move. The player on the right drops a pair. Look at that! The player, no Tempai here. Look at that green dress. Hanemon Tempai!
Not necessary to reach on a hand of this caliber.
Oh, making a move here. Is this hand going to end quietly? Ah, gee! The player on the left. What an incredible win off the
Bye, mine.
East 3. The Dora is the 8 of cracks. The player is North. The player on the left is in first.
What's needed is a roan off the point leader.
Is this a battle that can be won? What's going to happen to this score gap? The player, is there any way to turn the tables here? The air is tense as the players take their turns. Who's going to make the first call here? The player, one step in the right direction.
This is the point where skill really factors in.
Any calls? Took a pass for now. This table is so quiet I could hear a pin drop. The player, 2 tiles to Tempai.
This hand is
What to do with still holding back. Things are at a standstill. The player, still no calls. Another useless draw. The air is the player. Is it time for a call? I see storm clouds on the horizon. Have things calmed down for the moment? The player, 1 tile to Tempai.
This hand started out as nothing, and now it's something.
There it is! Neach! Who will seize the... Oh, wow, and there's a call. Ah, gee! The player on the right. A very swift win off the wall. East 3, 1 counter. The Dora is the 6 of Bams. The player is North.
This is a very challenging starting hand.
Let's see how this battle unfolds. The player, already 2 tiles to Tempai.
The next few tiles could make a huge difference.
Oh, wow, and there's a call. The player is already... Ah, gee! The player suffers an unexpected loss.
That was a speedy
Katsu,
finish.
Dora.
East 3, 2 counters. The Dora is south. The player is north. The player on the left is in first.
What's needed is a roan off the point leader.
This is not an easy spot to work around. The player, 1 step in the right direction.
This is the point where skill really factors in.
Look at that Dora. The player, on a roll.
This hand is really beginning to come together.
Decided to pass on that edge weight. Look at that north wind. The player, 2 tiles to Tempai.
The next few tiles could make a huge difference.
Any calls on this? Took a pass for now. What's going to happen? What to do with this tile? Still holding back. The player across continues to discard simples. Another useless draw. Uh-oh, East has the... Still no calls.
Whoa.
There it is. The player on the left suffers an unexpected loss. East 3 counters. The Dora is the 9 of cracks. The player is North. How does this starting hand look to you?
A quick 10 pie is very much in the cards here.
The stage is set. Anything can happen.
Decided that bands aren't worth chasing.
Con, the player. Here we have a con. The new Dora is 8 dot. Look at that! The player, no tempai here. The player across discards another crack. Still no tempai. Rich! There it is! Neat! Oh, making a move here.
That kills the Ippatsu.
The player on the right made a call there. The player across is on the defense against the player's Nietzsche. Oh, bro! There it is! The player on the right takes a beating.
A very impressive finish.
I'm simply blown away. East 4. The Dora is the 1 of dots. The player is West. Heading into the final hand of the match.
The player can win with a self-drawn Haneman.
Well, it's hard to know just how this will turn out. The player, 1 step in the right direction.
This is the point where skill really factors in.
The player, 2 tiles to tempai.
This hand is really beginning to come together.
What's going to happen to this score gap? Oh, wow, and there's a call. The player across continues to discard simples. The player on the left, here we have a chi. My, oh my, and there's the chi. The player on the left, here we have a chi.
That kills the Ippatsu.
The player's going for it. Look at that Dora. The player, 1 tile to tempai.
Certain tiles will fit right into this hand. Others will gradually transform it.
Ah, gee! The player on the left, a very swift win off the wall.
With a fine play, no doubt about it.